Everyone around me started hiding their faces. Today I found out the horrifying reason why. I first noticed it in a photo from Casey's birthday party. There was a group photo of us, all huddled together, smiling for the camera. But between me and my boyfriend Jack, you could see a man sitting at a table behind us. He was hiding his face in his hands. Guess that guy doesn't like to be photographed, Jack laughed. Yeah, makes sense though. Who wants strangers to have a picture of you, especially with all the weird facial recognition and stuff cameras do nowadays? It was still weird though. Looking at the picture sent chills down my spine. I mean, his face was turned directly towards the camera. If he really didn't want to be photographed, couldn't he have just tilted his head way down or put the menu in front of it? Why the creepy weeping angels pose? But some people are weird about being photographed. My brother never smiles for family photos, just to annoy my mom. One of my college friends has to have like 5 pounds of makeup on her face before she's willing to be in a photo. Like that would stop people from noticing her elephant-sized belly. Glutinous moron. Maybe this guy always hid his face in his hands like that. He thought he was being funny or something, and so I forgot about it. A few days later though, I went to the grocery store after work. I passed a little girl in the bread aisle, standing next to her mom. As I passed, I looked down to give her a little wave and stopped dead. She was hiding her face in her hands, just like the guy in the photograph. Relax, I thought. She's probably just crying about something. As I hurried away from her, but then why was her face turning in time with mine, as though she were watching me between the cracks in her fingers? I threw my groceries on the conveyor belt. The cashier raised her eyebrow as the carton of eggs fell with a loud rattling sound. I'm in a hurry, I breathed, as I ran over to the keypad and stuck my card in. It had started to rain. Light, pattering raindrops fell on the windshield, bleeding into little rivers that distorted the road before me. Swish. I turned on the wipers and they swept through. I couldn't stop my fingers from frantically tapping the wheel. You have to calm down, I told myself. I rushed into the house and it was flooding outside. By the time I got inside, my shirt was damp, sticking to my skin. Jenny, you're back early. I raced up the stairs and ran into the bathroom. My hands shook as I stared at myself in the mirror. Jenny? Jack called through the door. Are you okay? I'm fine, just have a bad headache. I spent the rest of the evening wrapped up in a blanket, watching some stupid Hallmark movie as Jack listened to some podcast downstairs. And now, I don't know if it was time or the meds. I almost laughed at the incident earlier. I almost had a panic attack because some little girl was crying at the store. So stupid. God forbid someday I'll actually have real problems, real things to panic about. I fell into a peaceful, dreamless sleep. The next morning I went to work as usual. I took the elevator up to the 5th floor, humming to myself, sat down in my office and worked on emails for an hour over coffee. And then it happened again. Taking a little break, I walked over to the window. I looked down at all the people hurrying along on the sidewalks down below, but one was standing still, a woman in a black dress, looking straight up at me. But of course she wasn't actually looking because her hands were hiding her face in that same creepy peekaboo pose that the other two had. The blood drained out of my face. I backed away from the window, kept backing away until my leg collided with my desk. I yelped as I fell backwards, grabbing the edge of the desk just at the last second. Breathing hard, I collapsed into the chair. I left work early, claiming I felt sick, and got into bed for the rest of the day. I kept telling myself that I shouldn't freak out, and there were perfectly good reasons for what I'd seen. This is surely a coincidence, right? Maybe this is my ex-boyfriend's weird attempt at scaring me. The doorbell ringing snapped me out of my thoughts. Jack was still at work, so I went downstairs. My hand fell on the doorknob, and I was about to open it, but something in me made me pause, a sort of itchy, tingly feeling, like I was being watched. I lifted my face and brought my eye to the peephole. No, there on the front porch stood our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Rose, except her face was hidden in her hands, and she was wearing a black dress and veil, like she was dressed for a funeral, and she had that creepy peekaboo pose, wrinkled spotted hands covering her face. I drew the deadbolt and ran upstairs. I've been sitting up here for an hour now, waiting for Jack to come home, but part of me is terrified. What if, when he comes inside, he's hiding his face too? So I called him at work through FaceTime. I breathed a sigh of relief when he picked up. He wasn't hiding his face. Hi, love, he said with a grin. Video calling me, huh? What's the occasion? When will you be back? His smile faded. Is something wrong? Everything's fine. Just trying to figure out what to do for dinner. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, echoing up the stairs. No. Oh God, no. Mrs. Rose came back. Is someone at the door? Jack asked, frowning. Yeah, it's just a delivery. I'll go get it later. Ding dong. I'll see you soon, bye. Before he could say more, I hung up. I lay there on the bed, staring up at the ceiling, my heart going a million miles an hour. The doorbell rang once, twice, 3 more times before it finally stopped. Thoughts swirled in my head, but for some reason, my mind kept boomeranging back to what my psychiatrist Dr. Thompson had said to me all those years ago. They aren't following you. I know that your ex-boyfriend threatened you, but it's been several years. Most likely, if he was going to do something, he would have done it by now. I'm going to prescribe you something to help with panic attacks. You're lucky you only hit the curb. You could get into a much more dangerous accident next time. I was interrupted from my thoughts by the creaking of the garage door opening. I ran down the stairs, my heart racing, the familiar thump of the garage door closing, then the swish of the fridge opening. I ran into the kitchen, then stopped in my tracks. The fridge door hung open, hiding Jack from view. All I could see were his brown leather shoes sticking out from under the crack. Jack, I screamed with worry. He didn't reply, and what happened next was terrifying.